this point, I would like to introduce my friend and colleague, Renee from Romulus Adult and Alternative Ed Program. Take it away.
Thank you so much, you guys. I'm so honored to be here, but I have to be honest with you and say this is a very casual conversation today. I do not have a PowerPoint. I had hoped that we could do this as a true roundtable, and that if you guys have any comments or questions or concerns, that you feel free to unmute, jump in, interrupt me. I'm so excited to see so many of you here. So if I can, just to begin, I am wearing a pumpkin hat and a Hogwarts t-shirt, and I have my wand. I just have to brag for a minute. I was chosen out of 25 people at Ollivanders to have a wand made specially for me. And this wand is made from birchwood and a phoenix feather. So it makes me feel happy. So I'm going to hold on to it just because, at certain times you got to find things that bring you joy. So if I may just begin by explaining to you guys the situation that I have found myself in, I would like to retitle this seminar, I Get By with a Little Help from My Friends, because my story starts back in 2009. We have an online application system here through Wayne Risa, and I got a call, Renee, would you like to teach part-time GED? This was September of 2009. I said, I don't even know what GED is, but I did because I needed a job. So I started and I fell in love with it. Oh my God, did I fall in love with being a GED teacher. Pretty quickly, I was made coordinator, and I worked very closely with our director. Her name was Robin Frazier. I don't know, I think most of you guys probably don't remember Robin. She passed away in 2014 at the age of 52. Very unexpectedly, her 14-year-old son found her, and it was very devastating to our program. Robin, we ran a very skeleton crew adult ed, and at that point it was really just her and I had thrown myself so heavily into adult ed, and I wanted the director position. When Robin passed away, I wanted to hold on to that and make sure it didn't go into anybody else's hands, but I wasn't certified to be an admin. And we had someone named Todd Marlatt come in, and I think maybe more of you are familiar with Todd. Todd and Robin couldn't have been different, any more different if they tried. Robin had a very strong mindset of do not get involved in the district. Stay hands off. We are our own program. I don't go to board meetings. I don't meet with the superintendent. We aren't getting involved in there at all. And I think there were some, grievances there. I know that her salary at some point. So I started off with a woman who went, we are all about ourselves. We are our own building. We were really far out. Like, Romulus is not a big community, but our adult ed and community high building was way on the outskirts of Romulus, closer to Taylor. So we were physically far away from everybody else, and we just did our own thing, and we were happy. And we were wonderful, and we were growing and having a good time, but it was just all about adult ed for Renee. I couldn't even have told you who our superintendent was, had no idea, didn't know there were 7 people on a school board, didn't know any of that. And then when Todd came in, he kind of had a different mentality. Todd was getting a little more involved in the district, but I wasn't a part of that. Our whole agreement was, all right, Renee, you handle adult ed, and I'll handle the district. I'll do the budgeting in the district. I used to joke with Todd, you've got one job, and it's the district and the budget. And I just stayed uninvolved, stayed in my adult ed world, got really involved in McKay, got really involved in Wayne Monroe, and I was just all about adult ed. I appreciated that our district supported us, but I was never involved in it. So then we're gonna fast forward, and now it's February of 2020. And Todd has left to go to Florida to take care of an ailing relative. And we're handling it on our own, and it's okay. And then COVID hit. And we're like, oh my God, what do we do? Now Todd is in Florida. Now our adult ed program literally consisted of me, Christina Newsome, and Moira Clay, who are all here. And let me just say now, Moira and Christina, you got my heart. And you know that because we survived and we thrived and we grew. So then Todd tells us after COVID hits, Todd tells us in June, I'm retiring, you guys. I've got to take care of my family. And I'm like, oh my God, I've been here 12 years and I've lost 2 directors. All right. I'm going to be the director now. I've got my certification. I'm ready. I reached out to so many of you. Karen wrote me a letter, Jason, so many of you supported me. And then I got scared, you guys, when the application came up. It wasn't just an adult ed director. It now said adult ed and alternative director. And I went, whoa, 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 what the heck is alternative ed? I don't do that. I'm an adult ed person. But if I wanted this job, I was going to have to do both. So, I did. I applied. I got the job. I have 2 outstanding alternative ed teachers. Some of you joined us yesterday and got to meet them, Dominic Catanzarite and Rob Barrett. They really helped me to get my feet wet. But here's what happened, you guys. The same time that I was hired as an adult ed and an alternative director, our district also hired a brand new superintendent. And he was super dynamic. His name's Dr. Edmondson. And he came into our district and I fell in line. I got really involved. He wanted adult ed and alternative ed to be at every meeting. We were part of the admin council. They asked me to join the admin union. And all of a sudden, all these things are happening. I'm Title IX coordinator, and I'm union, and it's all these things are being thrown at me from the district, and I'm happy to do them, but my adult ed program is now falling to the wayside. Now everything else is becoming more important, and thank God I have this really strong adult ed crew. We were able to hire some more people, but I feel like I got very absorbed by the district, and it took me further away from adult ed. So I had a hard time. It was like, as I was going further this way, I was being pulled further away from adult education. And I didn't like how that felt. Now, I will say this first year with our new superintendent, we got a lot of great stuff done. Every single one of my staff members got a raise, and that was very deserved. We worked really hard to make sure that our adult ed people were properly paid. Our alternative people, we made sure they were stipends so they can help us with adult ed. So it was a lot of good things that did happen, but it just felt like I couldn't have my feet firmly planted in both. The further that I got into the K through 12, the less I had to do with adult ed. And then when I tried to get into adult ed, I had to get away from it. So it's my second year now, guys, and I'm having a hard time finding a balance. So here's what happened. If you've seen the news, and I hope you don't Google it, but Romulus has been in a horrible state this year because our school board and our superintendent are very much butting heads. So our school board has voted to put our superintendent on paid administrative leave. Our superintendent is saying he may not come back if we don't remove some of the board members. So our district, since I would say September, has been in an uproar. Every board meeting that we have goes till midnight. Everybody is very angry in the district right now. Every board meeting we have, there's at least 50 to 100 people in the audience waiting to speak. And I have people coming to me and saying, why aren't you saying anything? Why aren't you doing anything? You're just staying quiet, Renee. So I had a really hard time. And I can tell you that I had a meeting. We were actually planning for this conference, and it was myself, Patrick, Tammy, and Karen. And I kind of was at a loss there. And I was like, you guys, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what to say. And they really, while we should have been talking about the fall conference, they really took the time to talk to me. Renee, here's what we recommend you do. And it just, I wasn't muted the whole time, right? You guys heard like most of that.
No, I'm sorry. I was trying to admit somebody and we hit
no, it's okay. It's okay. But I didn't get cut off for very long, right? So it was just a wonderful to be able to sit with this group that I admired so much and to talk about what I was going through and to hear their responses back to me. It grounded me. I'm going to be real honest here. We're not even going to sugarcoat it. I got a call from the superintendent himself. And he said, Renee, why aren't you saying anything at these meetings? Why, your silence is speaking louder than your words. And I said to him, I'm just so afraid that I'm going to say something. And they're going to go, what, adult ed, we're done with you. We don't want to deal with you anymore. Because you guys, we've seen it. I don't think that was why Wayne Westland schools closed down, but I don't know how many of us remember that Tinkham Adult Ed was a very big program in Wayne County. There was a new superintendent that came into Wayne Westland. They said, we want to focus on K through 12. We're not doing adult ed anymore. So I know that my program is outstanding, but I also worry that we could be dispensable. So I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I don't want my silence to speak louder than my words. So I feel like I'm walking a tightrope right now. I either upset my superintendent by not saying anything, or I upset my board by saying something that they don't want to hear. Because I will tell you this, the president of the school board, who is very much at odds right now with our superintendent, really loves our adult ed program. And at the Monday's board meeting, when everybody's so angry with her, she's making an announcement about our 23+ grant. And you could tell everybody's like, yeah, good job, adult ed. They almost dislike us because our school board president likes us. So I feel like I don't know what to do. And I'm at a loss. And so I was talking to Tammy and Karen and Patrick about this. And like I said, they offered great advice. Renee, toe the line, support your program, make your program shine, but don't get involved in the politics. And when they said that, I went, oh, thank God, I hate politics. But you guys, I still feel like I'm walking a tightrope, because those of you who know me, and I'm sure you gather this just from meeting me, I'm a people pleaser. So that's who I am at my core. I want, if you remember that Sally Field reference, you like me, you like me. Like, I want people to like me, and I want people to enjoy being around me, and I don't want to upset anybody. But I'm learning that as an admin, I don't know if that's possible. So I'm a second-year admin, and I came into this like, well, I'm a natural leader. I can figure this out. Oh my God, I can't figure this out at all. I can, but I get by with my friends. So I had just invited some of my, and I don't even want to call them my colleagues, because they're more than that. They're my dearest friends that have helped me get through not only my first 2 years as I just started first year as an admin, and first year as an admin in a troubled district right now. We're not gonna sugarcoat this. Romulus is not in financial trouble, but we are bare bones. I have no superintendent right now. I have no finance person. I have no director of curriculum. Our special ed director is out now for 6 weeks. I have a director of technology, an interim superintendent, and an interim finance person. That's who we're dealing with right now. It's scary. It's bare bones here, but I got awesome friends, and they are helping me navigate. Absolutely, Dr. Harrison. In this call right now, I have so many of my staff members that have just been so helpful. So I got to take a minute right now and just introduce you guys to a few people that truly have been here for me. And if they wouldn't mind, I've asked them, I'd like to pose them some questions, because really, you guys, I don't have the answers. I just have the questions. And I'm a type of person, I know some people say, well, I'll learn from doing it the wrong way. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to make a mistake. And I know I can't be perfect. I wish I could, but I can't be. But I can get by with a little help from my friends. So let me introduce a couple people that I'm sure you guys all know. I'm going to start with Oogie, because when I was made a first director, and I know you guys know who Oogie is, he runs the second largest program in the state, Kent. And Oogie, when I was made a first director, just made it a point of, Renee, I'd like to talk to you once or twice a week, and let's just see what you're going through. And I want to just tell you, he is the most caring man that I've ever met. And I can say this, and I hope he doesn't mind, that if you have a question or you have a concern that you want to talk to someone about, and you need someone who knows a lot about everything, Oogie is the right person to go to. So Oogie, I'm going to come back to you with a question in a minute. I just want to meet a couple more. I want to introduce you to E.O. Garrissey from Dearborn. I know she's on here. Now, Dearborn is the largest program in the state, and E.O. does so much, and she makes it look so easy, and she has an amazing relationship with her superintendent, and I admire her so much. So I'm excited to hear what she has to say. On that same vein, I have Karen Ling. And Karen and EO and I have a three-way text that we probably add to. Karen is from Livonia. Karen works with her K through 12 district seamlessly. And can I just say, there's so many things about Karen that I'd love to emulate, like with all of these people. I just think every one of you are such outstanding outstanding educators. You got administrators rather. I have Tammy. Tammy's going to help us speak today too. Tammy, I have to tell you that conversation that you and I had last week or two, whenever that was, when you talked to me about this, it changed me. It changed the way I felt about you as well. Like, I've always considered you a friend, but like, you cared so much about my program and my program staying strong. And I know as the president of McKay, you feel that way about everyone. So I'm going to talk to Tammy too. Now I've got two other girls. Kristen Allen is from Warren Woods. And Brett's right, Kristen, right? Now, Kristen is a very good friend of mine outside of this as well. Kristen is really wonderful to have on my corner because I feel like our students are very similar. My students are not often like the students in Livonia or Dearborn, or maybe I think we're a little more like Kent, but we're very similar to the students in Warren. We run a very similar program. And on a personal note, Kristen, I think, has been very good to me. My last person that I've gone to a lot is Stephanie. Stephanie, you're from OVAE, right? Orchard Valley, is that right? I said it right, right?
Orchard View.
Orchard View. I was so close. And I have to just say, these last two ladies, their souls and their demeanors. So Stephanie, her program does so many outstanding things that I see on Facebook that I think, oh my God, I want to emulate. So if I could, I'm just going to ask some of these people that have been so helpful to me, how they have handled working in their K through 12 district. And I introduce you to all these people, and I encourage you, if you have not reached out to them, and if you have problems, I know I'm not speaking out of turn, any one of those, Karen, Eo, Tammy, Oogie, Stephanie, Kristen, any one of those, myself included, would be happy to help you. So that's where I would like to kind of end this 20-minute introduction with, I couldn't do a single thing if I didn't have McKay. I wouldn't have gotten this job if I didn't have McKay. I wouldn't be able to continue doing this job if I didn't have McKay. This organization and the people that are here support us so much. So I'm going to ask a few questions. And Oogie, is it okay if I start with you?
Absolutely.
Oogie, can you describe to me what your relationship is like with your school board?
Well, I got to give you just a little bit of history. So 6 years ago, I was with the Wyoming Public Schools. It was just our single school district, and we transitioned over to the Kent ISD. And so within Kent County, we have a few other programs. So Sparta, Rockford, these are state Section 107 programs. But going to that ISD from me was quite unique. Like you, we were just a little tiny part of the Wyoming Public Schools system. They didn't want us to go to board meetings. We didn't do anything that way. But it was truly refreshing when we came to the ISD that we were recognized for the first time as we met as a group. And so we have now we have about 1,200 employees in our organization total. But our board president actually, before everything started, welcomed us. And so from the beginning of that was a nice relationship. Again, in my capacity, it's a little bit different. I'm a member of our expanded cabinet. And so I have an opportunity to meet with all of the other directors throughout the state, throughout our organization, including our executive board, our superintendent, superintendent for finance and everything. I attend all the board meetings. And so it's actually pretty good. I'm able to speak with them and reach out to them at any time. Our board's a little bit different again. Our board consists of board members from other school districts. And so it allows us an opportunity to have a place within Kent County. So our 6 board members are also board members on other school districts. But overall, it's a nice relationship.
Oogie, do you present often at your board meetings?
Not very much. There's just, kind of some housekeeping things. Whenever there's a new employee that we have, I have to present that new employee. We had a couple of award winners. We award different activities, staff member of the year or whatever. But I do invite them into our building when we do our student speak sessions and things like that. And so I expand a little bit more between our board, the Ken ISD board, and then I'm also in 2 separate school districts. So the Wyoming Public Schools have a relationship with their superintendent, have relationships with the Grand Rapids Public Schools superintendent and their leadership also. And so kind of have those 3 different areas. Other ones, also I speak to. And so there's probably about 5 or 6 superintendents that I know I have to have support for them along with our board.
And I think the first piece of advice that I'm going to take, a big piece, is invite your board to your program. Let them walk around and see what you're doing. Let them see the students in action. I mean, that's a simple thing, right? So, and I think they appreciate that. I know that we always invite our board to our graduation, and that's what they say. Oh, adult ed graduation is my favorite event of the whole year. But I'm going to be honest, that's the only thing I've ever invited them to. That's it. I still worry that I operate in that, don't look at what we're doing, so I got to get past that. Karen, I would love to hear about your relationship with your school board, because I know Livonia is a very big, powerful district in Wayne County. So how do you work with your school board?
Oogie really sort of hit on most of it. I mean, I think the biggest one is invite them in, let them meet the students and talk with the students. I have interaction also at the board meetings. I mean, I have a presence. I don't go to every board meeting, but I'm known. I think that's important. My boss, who's the assistant superintendent of secondary programs, is oftentimes the one speaking on our behalf to the board. So I keep a good relationship with him. I think also it's really important that you have some kind of a connection with your superintendent.
Yeah.
And their cabinet. And that oftentimes means attending a lot of other administrative meetings. I know we're on my superintendent has the administrators leadership team. I'm a member of that. So while that can be difficult because a lot of what's discussed in those meetings really isn't applicable to us, but nonetheless, I show up and I make sure that there's a presence so that nobody forgets what we do, right? So
Karen, who do you work closely with in your cabinet? I know you mentioned the superintendent. Who are the other members of your cabinet that you work with regularly?
So the head of operations, the head of IT, the curriculum director, the assessment coordinator. So yeah, I would say those are probably, as of late, the head of student services for special education.
Yep.
Yeah, that's been a big one this year. So it's important that they know who you are. That would be my biggest piece of advice. And feel free to call them. Here's one of the things I had a hard time, like you, Renee. Very much my predecessor was a stay quiet and stay low, because most adult ed programs are completely self-sufficient, right? All of our funding has to take care of everything that we do. So oftentimes you're not included in a lot of the other district budgeting or conversation, but nonetheless, you need the help and the resource of those people that are running your district, right? So don't be scared to call and say, look, we've got a situation and I'm not sure how to handle it. Because I've never been turned down by anybody in leadership positions above me. If I say I need help, they always call me back, so that would be my piece of advice there too.
It's good advice. It's really good advice. EO, I'm going to come to you next because I'm always so impressed with the superintendent of Dearborn schools. He seems to just be such a strong proponent of you and your program and what you do. Can you speak just about your relationship with your superintendent and your board office?
Sure. Good morning. Is it still morning? Yes. Good morning, everyone.
Yes.
Yes, we do have a very good relationship with our board and our cabinet members and the superintendent. Our superintendent is very supportive and recognizes what we offer to the community, but you know, it hasn't always been like that. And Dr. Maleko is embraces the K-12 and beyond, and we're considered beyond. You know, it takes some work, and I guess there's a good balance. I mean, I've been in the district 29 years now. I've seen different, you know, superintendents come. I've seen different board members, and you know, Renee, you did say, "Oh, I don't want to get involved in the politics," and I would kind of agree with that. We always are. You know, we're in a separate building. We're not at the main office of where the board is. We're at the career center. And sometimes I tell my colleagues, you know, sometimes it's good to be away from all of that. So how we get our information out is, of course, I'm part of the extended cabinet and we meet every 2 weeks. So I know everybody who's part of the cabinet. I've worked with some of these people, some of the board members I know and work closely with, I've worked with in the past in different committees and different capacities. So a couple of them I can consider good friends. So if I ever have an issue, I have no problem calling them. I always supply our executive director board briefs. So he's always putting something in the board briefs about adult ed, whether it's our enrollment number or, you know, where we're at. You know, we got adult ed got granted the WIOA grant. There's always something in there just to keep us in their line of vision. I also quite often send accommodations to the board, because at the board meetings when they read, I always, some kind of success story, whether it's a student or most likely it's a staff member that's gone beyond and above and beyond. So that's how we try to keep in their good graces, if you will. But we don't present too often to the board. We used to. The executive director that I was under before wanted us to present twice a year. We've gotten away from that. But we do invite board members to come and visit, you know, come and see what we're doing, stop by anytime, and of course for graduation and when we had students speak. But we are very welcomed. I deal with the business service executive director, the HR, the payroll, all of those directors know me well, and I have no problem calling them at any time and asking them for what I need. So, you know, it goes back to what we were saying this morning. It's like relationships. You know, you have to form these relationships in order to feel comfortable, to call the people, to get what you need done and get your program out there so they know what's going on.
And you did that, EO. You are the one. What I picked out of that is you send the emails. You reach out to these people and say, here's what we're doing. Here's our enrollments. Here's our successes. And the other thing I picked up on, it is relationships. It's friendships too, right? You guys, like, I look throughout this group right here and like how many of you, like Christian, I'm sorry, I got to call you out right now. Like what I'm going through dealing with the death of my father, like Christian, you have been so important to me on a personal level and professionally. Like so many relationships are built here. And I love these relationships here, you guys. These are my comfort. And I want those same relationships with my K through 12 district. And I think it's almost kind of comparable to like, I went to a new school. Like this was my school and I felt really comfortable here and I love you guys and I know you, and now I'm in a new school and I don't know how to interact and play with these people. But it's like, just be friends, make new relationships, reach out to them. So I admire so much, EO, what you've done and the place you hold in your district. You know, between Kent and Dearborn, you guys have like what, a billion students there? I mean, I feel like you have maybe
I don't know about a billion.
20% of all of the adult ed
Okay,
students in the
maybe, but
state.
not us.
No, well,
So-
and I want to say, EO, it was nice that you hosted me a couple of years ago to come down and kind of see some things down in Dearborn. And Renee, you're 100% correct. These relationships that we have, and I'm sure all of the 51 people or 50 that are in this presentation today are there for each other. I saw when you started and said, "We got you, girl," you know, in the chat and things like that. And so, as she said, we're a collective group. We're a community that is really, really caring about all of our programs and all of the students that we serve. I don't think the students that are in West Michigan are any better or worse than, you know, I see Bill here, Bill Henry. We had this discussion about folks in the UP and their needs and stuff. And so really, really a nice community that we have that is able to lean on one another for any type of help that we may need.
And you know, I'm a very emotional person. I have chills right now, and I love this community of people so much. Tammy, I'm going to come to you for a minute because, again, I got to reiterate just that we were so busy at that moment, that you guys just went, stop. We're going to talk about this, Renee, because this is important. Your program is important, and we want to help make your program shine. Troy shines, Tammy. Troy shines. So how do you do that? How do you make your program stand out? Troy's a huge school district too. Your K through 12 is huge, but your adult ed program is as well. How do you do it?
You have to have the right staff. You have to have buy-in from your staff. You have to have dedicated and passionate staff. That's the only way it works, and then it'll naturally happen. It really has to be a natural growth of your program through. I couldn't do it myself. I wouldn't be able to be a part of McKay if I didn't have coordinators and teachers and parapros and data managers and secretaries that weren't there 100%. And a lot of them are retirees, right? Like they're only there part-time, but they are all in. And I think that I would say you need that base, right? It's like the skeletal structure. You have to have that strong skeleton, and then you work your way out. And once you're strong, then you can work out to the networking with employers and Michigan Works and your board. I will say I had the advantage of my superintendent being my boss as an assistant superintendent before he became superintendent. So he already knew a little deeper than what most board and superintendents would know about what we do. Trying to get engaged in projects that impact K-12. When COVID hit, we were one of the main parts of the school district that were already doing virtual learning.
Yeah.
So we jumped in and we had teachers get stipends to do a specific COVID credit recovery project for K-12. So instantly that puts us like in a different place, because now we're not just impacting adults, we're impacting K-12. And when board members see and hear that, and the cabinet hears that, it's huge, right? It puts you in a different light, like, oh, wait, they are maybe a little more important than we realize. Sharing data, as important as relationships are, I got the opportunity to present to my board last year, and I don't present very often at all. Like you said, it's a large district with a lot going on. So I try to just, you got to balance being in their face too much and being in the way.
That's important.
I shared data on our growth, our innovative new projects, and how much our students impact K-12 by how many parents we have in our program. And they were astounded, even though they come to our ESL Connections events and they come to our ESL luncheons and they come to our track graduations. They love those and they're appreciative, but they don't really get what it means to their community as a whole. By being able to go and share actual data, it turned some heads. It really made a difference. So don't be afraid to share data. Board members and cabinet and superintendents and assistant superintendents of finance, they love data. So as important as the relationships are, they like to be able to have data to stand for what they're agreeing to do. I think that was the main things for me, Renee.
Tammy,
I just have to tell you though, before you go on, that the fact that you were able and willing to say such a strong volunteer McKay board member in the middle of all the transition you were going through says so much about you And that's why you have all these people that support you, because you support everybody else as well.
Well, I should
So that
preface
just needs
that
to be
by
said.
saying I was ready to quit that day. That's where I was at. Like, you guys, I can't do this anymore, you guys. My district is swallowing me up. And they were like, wait, whoa, reel it in, Renee. Christian, I see your hand up and I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Well, I'm hearing so much about the huge programs and the growing districts. First of all, Renee, I'd like to say that, like I already put it in the chat, but also I want to thank you, because you have been coming to me as well. Like, just like you lost your father, I recently lost my mom, like just a little over a month ago. And she honestly, when I went into adult ed, she served as an inspiration, because she was a GED to PhD story. Like, she dropped out. She was a teenage mother, went back, got her GED. She made it all the way to end up getting her doctorate in information technology, becoming a college professor. And I'm like, man. And I know I did my time in K-12, but I feel like this is where I should be.
Yeah. Christian, you can tell everybody, how many times have I tried to steal you from Detroit? I bribed this guy so many times. What do I have to do to get you over in Romulus? And I love, Christian, one of the things I was actually just talking about you yesterday, one of the things that I admire the most about you, and I admire so many things, is the dedication that you have to the city of Detroit. Your passion and your dedication to that city is matched by no one. And I admire you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And that leads to what I was about to say. We're talking about Dearborn, an exemplar program, Troy, an exemplar program, Livonia, an exemplar program. And honestly, you don't hear about us despite our size. We are the largest K-12 district, not just in the county, but the state. And I feel our adult ed program should reflect that too. So my thing is, how do we get to that level? How do we get to a Dearborn or a Livonia or a Troy? Like, tell me.
Share
Christian,
success
I would
stories
love
and,
to.
and get your performance. Data. That's what the start is. And then sharing those success stories.
Christian, and I wonder if part of what, because I think Romulus, again, we have some similarities, right? I wonder if part of our, we don't have consistency there. I think the number was, and I don't know if Dom is out there and he can correct me, I think we've had like 9 superintendents in 15 years, so there's no consistency here. I feel like if we had someone, a consistent director, a consistent superintendent, we could maybe grow more, but it's constantly like a grow, shrink, grow, shrink, grow, shrink. So, but I just have to say, on a personal note, I've got EO and Karen here with me. You can hear how much I talk about Detroit. I talk about you guys so much that people say, like, all right, enough with Detroit, Renee, stop bragging about them. So we do appreciate what you guys do in Detroit. And I have to just say, Christian, I think you're one of the most outstanding GED educators. I've got an outstanding one myself, Ryan, but you too, what you guys do. But I hope we can answer that question, because Romulus is staying strong at 300, but I want to become a 500 or a 700 or 1,000. I think EO might have 1,200 students. I mean, it's insane. So I want to grow too. I do.
Can I just say, Christian, that it's a little trickier for you in Detroit because you have so many different programs and they're not all under the same umbrella, and it gets confusing. There's a lot of nonprofits in Detroit. So you have a lot of mix of politics, and it's confusing because, you're, like Renee said, the district keeps changing and who you're under and which programs are part of your program versus another program. So it's a lot trickier for you than for like Troy or Livonia, where, we're it for our district, right? You have a lot of entities in Detroit battling for that attention. And I don't want to say battling because we're all doing good.
What I see is that you could come up as this strong voice and person that I see you, and you know, I brag about you. I hold you on my shoulders, buddy, and I can carry you. But I see you becoming so much. I mean, you're already a huge face in Detroit, but I see you growing, brother. I really do. I see you being the director someday, and just, I'm just so pleased to know you. Kristen, I'm going to come to you for a second, because you and I, you know, when we look at our mirrors performance data, I'm like, all right, where's Warren? You know, like we are very similar. And Kristen, can I just say, I think you are one of the realest people I've ever met. You know, you never BS me, girl. You tell it like it is, but you make me feel, you always do so with such a loving heart. I want to hear about your relationship with your school board. How do you present often? How well do you work with your school board?
Well, I want to talk about the board and the other administration, because those are two very separate things.
Yes.
My story is a little interesting, and Renee, you probably don't know all this, although you and I have talked personally outside of work about some of our experiences. I actually worked for the district I went to from 5th grade on, and I never imagined being in this position. I had just moved back from Oregon, where I had followed my husband for work, and I was hit with a divorce, and Warren Woods opened up this position, and I said, number one, I'm not qualified, and number two, this is going to be temporary. And it's 14 and a half years later. It's not so temporary. But I also was the student rep when I was in high school to the school board. So I had a good relationship with school board members and former school board members who were longstanding. Now, we are a little district in Warren. We are overshadowed by Warren Consolidated. We often get confused with Warren Woods out in the Oogies neck of the woods. We get a lot of applicants from Grand Rapids looking for jobs here, and I say, you're not going to like the commute. But
Under my way.
When I came into this job, like I said, I had a background with the district. I was a district graduate, and I knew a lot of people. I subbed when I was in grad school. It was a great subbing job. So I already knew the superintendent when he was a principal. I knew the current superintendent when she was a teacher, and I used to sub for her. I went to school, and I'm friends with children of some of the school board members. So on one hand, I had a personal relationship, but on the other hand, when I came in as an employee, the superintendent at the time, who is now in another neighboring district, said, you don't communicate to the school board but through me and through my office. So that put a barrier up with my school board. Now, my school board is very supportive of adult education. And this is part of my story too. When I came in, the person who was here before me was much beloved, but the program was in a mess. Mm-hmm. And my first year, my WIOA grant was $5,000. That's what I got from WIOA. Oh my goodness. And my district supported and funded the bulk of our adult education program. The school board presidents, and he's still the school board president, his daughter graduated through the alternative education program. And so he is a big supporter, and my board absolutely supports us 100%, but they're not very involved. And then when you want to talk about politics, 3 years into this job, we were one of the 20J districts, and we lost a big chunk of our funding very unexpectedly, as a lot of districts in this region did. And they eliminated my position. They said, we don't need you anymore. We're going to give your job duties to somebody else. And that person didn't do any. And his attitude was, well, how many teachers do you have? How bad? It's not going to be a big deal. He had no clue. And the years that I had spent learning the job, I felt were just thrown to the side. But some things happened, and they basically rescinded their decision and brought me back. It was hard not to be a little bit bitter, though. I bet. Because at a time where the economy was tanking and so many people were out of work, here I was, I felt thrown under the bus. And we were, and unfortunately, it impacted my staff's feeling about the program. like if our director isn't safe, how are we safe?
Right.
Okay. But on the other hand, I am, and the other thing too is when I was brought in, I was told I was a quasi administrator. And then I got in trouble for not going to the first administrator meeting. I'm like, you guys told me I wasn't really an administrator. Like I had these duties, but anyway, so there were a lot of issues I had when I first came in, but a lot of those weren't with the board. I don't think they even really knew some of that stuff was going on. I think that was really with the upper administration, the cabinet. Several months after I started, there was a transition from our superintendent at the time went to another neighboring school district, and the principal at the high school, who, like I said, I had subbed for her when she was a teacher, she became superintendent. Our district does some things every year, like a administrator and board retreat. So once I knew that they really wanted me to be an administrator, but not pay me like one, that's a whole other thing. Okay.
We won't even get into that, Kristen.
That's really the quasi part. The
You're not
quasi part
alone on that, Kristen.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yes,
Right.
all the duties, but not the pay.
Right.
That's a whole other thing.
Right.
But I am part of all that. I'm part of the administrative team. I'm part of the board meetings. I don't present to the board very often, but we do these annual retreats where the board and all the administrative staff go away for 2 days and we present about our program, talk about updates, things that we need to do. We get our legal updates. We do all these things together, and then we just spend time together. So the attitude that my board has is very, very positive about our program. They are willing to not only support us, but subsidize us when things were tough. But I'm trying to get away from that. I don't want to be dependent on that. But my relationship with the administration is generally pretty good. We communicate, we send each other memes via text. If my superintendent's having a bad day, I'm going to send her a meme or something like that to make her chuckle. And I know that she appreciates that. I'm in the same building as them, so they're always here.
Okay. That helps,
In
Kristen.
my office, and that makes a huge difference. So I'm blessed by that, certainly blessed. Now, have there been things that they've decided that I disagree with? Absolutely, and those are battles I have to pick. I have to decide what battles are worth fighting. I have an issue, and Christian, you might appreciate this. We're neighbors. I used to get a lot of students in from Detroit. And because of an issue with special education and not getting records from Detroit and Wayne Risa and so on, my district just decided we're only going to accept people from Macomb County. And I said, we have so many people from Wayne County that want to come here. We're right there. We may be closer to them than the Detroit schools are. He said, no, you're not going to take them anymore. And I've been fighting this for years. And again, I'm picking my battles. Because I know that they have other issues, and we know that our position is we are support to the rest of the district when it comes to credit recovery and so on. So I think knowing our role, we are important to the district, but we are not as important as K-12. And I'm realistic. And
you know what I think was brilliant that Tammy brought up earlier, and Oogie talked to me a lot about this too. We educate their parents though. We have your parents here. So that's what you need to remember, especially in a community like Romulus. We have a lot of the parents that do not have, don't you hate automatic lights? We have a lot of parents that do not have a GED or a diploma. So Oogie, correct me if I'm wrong, but at the beginning of the year, didn't you tell me last year, Renee, we send a letter out to our K through 12 parents saying, hey, we're here. We can help with virtual. We can help with, don't you do something like that?
Yeah, we in our Wyoming location, we have the capability, and it's a small area. The city of Wyoming school district is really like 4 square miles. And so all of our neighboring districts, when they send out their summer mailing, their back to school mailing.
Yeah.
We put an ad in those
Right.
papers. And
I
so
th- I-
all,
like just so
yeah.
simple, right?
yeah,
Christian, like imagine the impact that like a Detroit adult ed could have if you guys could pepper Detroit public schools with your flyers to let them know what we do. I think that's huge. Kristen, I want to come back to you for a minute because you said something too about $5,000 we owe. I know you have more than that now.
Yeah.
Do you think showing that our program can self-sustain without having to rely on K through 12 general funds, is that big for us in
Absolutely.
being proponents of our district?
Yes, because, and this goes back to, and Christian, I see your comment. I know that we're important. The school board knows that we are important, but when they have to cut something politically, it's the community. We can talk about educating community members, but because we're such a small district, we get plenty of people from outside of our district. Okay, people who are not going to vote for the school board. So I have to look at it from that political lens and say, if they have to make a choice, their choice is going to be cutting us, and not as necessarily as a program, but maybe our size,
Right.
maybe the extent of what we have. Maybe it's my job, okay, because I've been there before. I'm not living in fear of that. I wasn't before, although it was a scary time, but and I don't expect that to be happening, but it was made very clear to me early on, basically the district sustains you. If you want to make sure that the district continues to sustain you, become more self-sustaining as much as possible. Now, I get reminded all the time, you have general fund budgets to spend. Like I have a budget.
Right. We get reminded of that too.
Yep. But a part of the reason I do that is because we don't want, if they lose our adult ed money because they lose our adult ed program, they're really not benefiting. Okay. And I was part of the county, the board for adult ed at a time when a lot of districts were cutting programs completely because they could sell the buildings. And even though some of those programs, those adult and alternative programs were making money for the district, they were still getting cut. So I was part of that time period, and we just decided as a program, and I've talked to my staff about this, we need to be as self-sustaining as possible, because then there is no benefit to the district politically or financially to losing us. And in fact, it's a detriment to the community. And so this is the tactic we're taking. Yes, my WIOA, when I say, and it sounds a lot better than it is, although it is pretty good. We have when I last did the calculations, it was almost 14 times the amount of money I had my first year here. And that's huge. When you say 1,400% increase in funding,
It's insane.
that's good. And we had a lot of attitudes to change, but also part of it was we had a negative, the district had kind of a negative view of us, like the teachers in the district, about our rigor, about our standards, about what we were letting students get away with. So also this was making sure that we were doing what we needed to do to be a quality program with rigor and educating our students to come out of here with a program, I tell my staff, I have to sign those diplomas.
Yep.
And if I am uncomfortable signing them because of that student's literacy level, then I am uncomfortable. And I need to have a program where I feel comfortable signing those diplomas that I feel like I can back it.
And that, Kristen, I gotta reiterate that because she said that to me last year and it refocused me. Renee, you are the one signing their diplomas. Make sure that it's valuable. I can't believe I only have 6 minutes left. There was a time when I was planning this, I was like, we're not going to use the full hour. We could literally have this conversation for another hour, but I've got to ask Stephanie one question because Stephanie, I have to tell you, Karen mentioned this. We need to sell our program on social media. There's no program to me that is better sold than yours. So tell us, because your clothing closet, but because we have about 5 minutes, can you tell us some of the ways that you sell your program to your district? Because I think you, bar none, are one of the best at that.
Well, thank you. So what I do is I assume everything we do is a mystery. So if we have a good idea or a resource that I want to get out there, we take a picture of it and we sell it. So our clothing closet just came from the idea of all of us had things that we could donate. And we started collecting clothing racks, and we take gently used clean items and put them in there. And if there is a need, we give the student or community member the space and time to go in there and collect what they want. I've started since bringing like Meyer bags or whatever, so they can collect the items and, you know, maintain kind of that safe space and their integrity, and just bring it home. So instead of maybe donating to a thrift shop, we just bring it here. Our community has started bringing it in, and it's been working really well. So everything from just like comfortable items to, you know, stuff that they might want for an interview. And it's been going very, very successfully.
Does your district acknowledge those efforts, Stephanie?
I have yet to have it publicized like in a community flyer or something, but I think that's going to be my next step. That is something that I think that our Facebook does a good job of getting the word out. You'd be surprised of that snowball effect. Because, you know, somebody will say something and then the next person will share and the next person will share. So the real thing is that I don't know how many people know, but I sure do try to talk about it.
Stephanie, remind everybody what your district is.
Orchard View. So we're in Muskegon.
So what I want you all to do today, right now, go on Facebook and like this program. It's OVAE, correct? I want you to see what they do with their Facebook page.
Hi.
It's amazing.
Hi, I have a comment about what she said about the closet.
Absolutely, Elizabeth.
Yeah, so I'm with Christian over at Detroit Public Schools.
Hi.
And so one trick that I've learned, well, I wouldn't call it a trick, but it's about data. And about your closet, you said you don't know who's coming and who's going and who got the word out. So if you come up and create like a code, say like, I don't know, 2224 or something. So when people come in and, you know, all they got to do is give the code, and maybe you'll give them a little something, I don't know, a pen, a pencil, I don't know. And when they tell you the code 2224, you will know where you can trace where that code came from. And then you can start building the data of how your code is traveling around.
That's a really neat idea, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
So here's
So it's
what
really
I'm going to
good.
propose, because we're in the last 3 minutes, and I have the president, and I think we got some McKay people here. How would you guys feel if we did part 2 of this in the spring? And we come back to this discussion with this outstanding panel. So Stephanie, Kristen, Eo, Karen, Oogie, Tammy, will you guys be willing? Let's do this again in the spring, because I have to just reiterate, and I'm going to try not to get emotional, that I really would not have survived this last year without all of you. And I mean, I look at like even Danielle, like I know I've seen your face at conferences before, you know, I just, there's so you, Nancy and Rhonda, and just you guys, you saved my life. So this last year, not only being a first year director, but losing the love of my life, it's been really hard, you guys. And there's been a lot of times that it was hard to pick my head up. But the day my dad died, so many of you reached out to me from McKay and from Wayne Monroe and just from Facebook and my friends. And I have to reiterate how much you all mean to me and how I could not take one step without you. And to everybody who's here, I just want you to know that this truly is the best group of people that you could possibly be with. This is my 13th year in adult ed. I'm staying here till I die. I tell Moira, we got 25 years, Moira. She's shaking her head. We got 25 years that we're here. So just use this community. If there's ever anything I can do for you, I'm new at admin, but I got a heart, you guys, and I love you all so dearly. And I'm just so honored that you were here. I'm so sorry that we didn't get to talk about more, but thank you for coming. Thank you for being my trusted advisors. Thank you for helping me to be the leader that I am. I aspire to be leaders like each and every one of you. And let's come back and do part 2 in the spring, all right? I saw that Kristen said she'd be willing to host. Maybe we don't have to wait till the spring. Maybe we can all get together and have another conversation before that about what we're doing to support and grow our K through 12 programs. Every
guys
single
have-
one of you.
You've seen my community room, Renee. You know how big it is.
It's
you know where we can
huge
spread
and I
out.
love it. And I love Warren. And I truly, from the bottom of my heart, I have to just say, forgive me. I love every single one of you. I love McKay. I love adult education. And thank you guys for being my friends and my support. I love you all. I'm going to go before I turn into a baby. I'll have a good lunch, you guys. And I'll see everybody at 12:30 at the networking session. Okay.